everyone. Buenos dias. Hey, that's as far as I'm going, okay? I'm in Miami. This is Queen Court's Conversation, Miami, and I'm so excited to be here because I love this city. It has so much energy. I don't know if I can live here because I would be exhausted from feeling like I'm on a vacation, okay? I'm Queen D, and my channel is Queen D, Queen's Court Conversations. Forgive me, I had too much last night, okay? I had too much fun. But anyway, I'm in Miami. But Queen's Court Conversation is my channel. You can subscribe to it and like, and please be respectful with your comments. I would appreciate that. And also, I have some beautiful, intelligent, inspiring women today. And that's what Queen's Court Conversation is about. It's about networking together, bringing women together so that we can inspire, motivate, and empower other women, because that's what we do naturally. Okay, so we're going to get started with this beautiful queen right here, Evelyn.
Okay, I'm Evelyn Wade. I'm from Miramar, Florida. Okay, I'm happily retired.
Okay, that's the best way to be, too.
Exactly. At 72 years old. I was married between my two marriages, 42 years out of my life, okay? I have 3 sons, 52, 46, and 43. And 4 grandkids, 25, 22, 5, and 3.
Okay.
But
that's wonderful.
Right now I'm at the best part of my life, you know, even though I lost my husband in 2017. Right now, I'm doing me. It took a lot for me to be able to find myself again after being with somebody for so many years, you know. I was drained, you know, I'm overweight, unhealthy, whatever. So I had to do some self-love in order to get myself out of that. Right now, I'm living my best life. Okay, doing things, taking chances, stepping outside my comfort zone. I never would have thought I'd be doing no TikTok. Okay. Okay, but I am happy doing me.
Thank you, Evelyn. I really appreciate you because, you know, the reason why I asked Evelyn to be on my show is because I see her all the time on Facebook. And I never forget the first time I saw you. I was like, who is this? Okay. So then I was like, okay. Then I saw her again and I was like, and then my son said, Mom, why do you keep looking at this lady? I said, because she has energy, she's inspiring. I could tell that you had a lot of energy and vitality and that you had a story and a testimony. And that's what drew me to her energy. I said, this woman has been some places and done some things, but she's got vitality. And when I get to her point, I want to be just like that, okay? I want to enjoy my life continually, you know? And like you said, you're doing you and, you know, living your best life and exploring what God has for you, because that's what's important, because as we continue this journey, I always say, it ain't over until you are in the ground.
Exactly.
You got stuff to do. Exactly. So I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I tend to, you know, my Facebook posts, I'm inspiring, you know, to other women. I get, you know, messages, Miss Evelyn, so I want to be like you when I grow up, you know, stuff like that, you know, and I got more involved during the pandemic. Because I felt as though that there's so many people out of work, needed something to do. I post a lot of interacting, posts where people can come have a conversation on it, whatever. They enjoy it. I have to do it every day, okay? Okay, so otherwise they call in and they're, well, what's wrong with you, Miss Evelyn? You know, you ain't posted that, you know? So they look forward to, you know, the inspiration posts that I do. And I inspired by that, you know, as far as, you know, people being inspired by me, you know, and that's what makes me, and you know what, I also have a book coming out, you know, on my trials and tribulation, you know, and all your negatives and your past or whatever. After I lost my husband, I felt as though that I needed to close some chapters of
Yes,
my life.
yes.
The only way to do that is put it down on paper.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. I'm editing, I'm self-publishing, so I'm doing the editing of my book right now. And it's finally living my life happy.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful. And next we have this beautiful woman here. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
I'm Sonia Diaz.
Hi, Sonia.
I'm really excited to be here. I've actually, had a relationship with some of your team for a long time now, and I think that for me this is really exciting because what I see here are the conversations that we had before the show started is that we have, 4 women who are all in different stages of their life, but it's very emblematic of the fact that as women we kind of go through evolutions of where we are, and so I think it's very inspiring to hear Evelyn talk about I've been with somebody and taking care of other people and my children for my whole life, and now I found this new stage where I'm kind of finding myself and I'm finding my self-worth and I'm doing things for myself, and I myself, I'm in a new part of my career where I launched my own agency after working at corporate agency and small boutique for the past 15 years. And so there's always an opportunity to take what we've learned and start over. Or I don't want to say start over, but start over is not good. It's evolve.
Yes,
right?
yes, evolve.
Reinvent yourself.
Yes, reinvent yourself, have an evolution, take it to the next step. And you and I talked before the show started about the importance of continuously, going outside your comfort zone. And it's funny that we talked about that because last night I was watching the J-Lo documentary on Netflix, and she talked about how she got to a point in her life, after she had her kids and she was going through her divorce, about how, she did American Idol, and it was a moment that was she could be focused on something and she felt she had purpose because she was helping these aspiring artists be able to reach their new level, but it was also a moment for her to reflect and really have internal, be introspective about what is her purpose and what does she want to do, and that she felt like I just have to always be better, right? So it's always about thinking about how can we be better, and being better isn't necessarily always defined by what society defines it by, and you and I talked a little bit about, for you, being better is I've been servicing other people and living for other people my whole life. Being better for me means how do I take care of myself? And I said, funny, because to me being better is I've been pretty much single my whole life and very focused on my personal, career and my evolution, and now I'm in a relationship and I'm learning how to be better with somebody else. So understanding that being better is defined by yourself, not by what the world says that you need to be doing, and really listening to that intuition and just going with it and kind of shutting out the noise, and I thought that was a huge lesson that I learned from. It was nice to see that somebody who we see often as very confident and very fierce, expressing deep insecurities because of the noise from the outside, and the fact that no matter how much she was trying to prove herself, that the focus was always her personal life, or the focus was always who she was dating or her failed marriages versus the things that she was trying to accomplish. And so I think that we take lessons from people like that and we say, okay, how can I be a better version of myself? And I think that everybody here at this table kind of is representing a certain point in life that I think all women can identify with, no matter where they're at.
And that's what I picked up on what you said. Let's rewind that a little bit. You had said that J-Lo was on American Idol, and so this was not only something she thought she was helping other people and inspiring other people, but she was also healing herself.
Right.
Yeah. So that she could be the best version of who she is.
And nobody would have never known that. And I think that the lesson is that people ruin good things, right? So they don't always have to know what you're going through. And she said, she's what I'm most proud of is that no matter what was happening in my life, nobody really knew what I was going through.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you could tell, she didn't go into her part of World of Dance because she launched World of Dance. But then if you think about it, you could tell that American Idol very much propelled that want to establish a platform for dancers, which she is at her core, and continue her purpose, and then finally come back to be in a movie 20 years later and 20 years later, finally again be nominated for a Golden Globe. So there was 20 years between the
Yes.
Selena Golden Globe nomination and the Hustlers.
Right.
And it's a testament to you just always keep going, that you're not defined by your last achievement.
Yes.
That you're only defined by how your own belief in yourself. And I believe that about Jennifer Hudson too, who
Yes.
came 7th in American Idol,
Yeah.
and now is an EGOT winner.
Yes.
Right?
That's amazing.
You know, and she was told like you weren't good enough, and she
Yeah.
was 7th,
Right.
not even 2nd or 4th, but 7th. And
Yeah.
today she's
Look at her, right?
one of 17 EGOTs in the
Yes.
entire history of the arts and entertainment industry. So both of those women, I think, are very
Yeah.
emblematic of kind of like what I
Yes.
see here in the conversations that I had before we started
Thank you.
recording. Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because if you think about it, this is what I've always said to my sons. I always say to them, what you see, like you said about Jennifer, and what you said about both Jennifers actually.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, Hudson and Lopez. What you see from the exterior has nothing to do with what's going on the interior, you know? And I always say to my sons, when you see people that climb like that, that wasn't an instant success.
Right?
That was years of hard work. No one comes out of the womb, this is what I always say. We all come in this world butt naked with nothing. I don't care if you're rich or poor. You still have to do the work in order to get where you're going. It doesn't matter who you are, you got to do the work. You know, and both of those beautiful women did the work. And it was hard, it's a journey. And each time you go through one hurdle, there's another hurdle. So every time you got a success, you're like, yeah. And you wake up next morning, oh God, what do I got to do now? That's what I'm saying. And that's just life. It just doesn't stop until, like I say, you're in the ground. You know, that's when it stops.
And I think we make a mistake in thinking that just because somebody like Jennifer's from the Bronx and Hudson's like from, you know, the suburbs of Chicago, the tough streets of Chicago, that it doesn't just apply to people who have more hurdles. It applies to people, you know, I know people that are like very, like it seems like everything comes easily to them and they're very talented and everything, but they also suffer from the incredible amount of pressure of always performing at a high level. Right? So like they're always expected to perform at a high level. So if you've always been at a high level, how do you, the insecurity of failing?
Right.
I almost feel like people who have been really successful, the insecurity of failing is actually more debilitating than people who feel like, yeah, I had to fail 50 times before I got 3 yeses. So you said no. But a person that's always successful feels like, what do you mean no? Like I am good enough. Exactly.
Like 2,000%.
So just be, you know, we shame people that are privileged. And, but a lot of times being privileged, or almost all the time, being privileged also comes with its own set of personal challenges that we don't see because they are really like internal battles that people have. So, especially for women and women of color mostly, right?
Yes. And I would like for you to introduce yourself, you superstar.
Thank you again for inviting me onto your platform.
You're welcome, I appreciate
I'm happy to be in the room at the table. My name is Danielle Jeter, and I am the founder of AOI Events and PR, and also Women in Media Global. And my entire mission is to tell your stories and also to really dispel the negative stereotypes about women and the Black and brown communities in the mainstream media. So both of my platforms, whether I am behind the scenes doing PR work for the amazing clients that I am privileged to work with, or if I am empowering women through the platform of Women in Media Global, it all circles back to the same media foundation of making sure that our stories are told properly. So I'm from Philadelphia, and
family there, okay.
Yeah, you know, shout out to Philly.
Yeah.
I've been here in Miami for 3.5 years. I feel really blessed to be here. The whole evolution that we're talking about changing, you know, I too have been going through that over these last several years. And I was 19 when I started my business, AOI.
Wow.
And so I've been in business as an entrepreneur ever since full time.
You probably feel old now, right?
I definitely feel like a veteran.
So fast, you feel old now.
I'm a veteran in this space, you know.
Yeah.
Like I put the work in, I put the years in. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Just a
it.
small
Imagine.
midge of what I do.
Okay, so what inspires you? And I'm going to start from the beginning. Okay, so who were your mentors as a child? Was it your parents? Is someone, did your father or mother say anything to you that sticks with you today?
Yeah, so I'm extremely close to my parents. I'm the youngest of 4 boys, the only girl. So I'm the baby, so they'll always treat me as such. No matter how old I get, I'm still the baby. And my mother always made it a point to surround me with women who could mentor me, who could speak life into me, and women who also profess God.
Yes.
So at times when I, you know how it is when you're growing up, you don't want to always listen to your parents. She always made sure that there was some sound person giving me, mentorship.
And that's so important.
Yeah, in my ear. So she kept me busy. She did not allow me to have any idle time. And I always had a schedule, and I always had to be doing something.
Okay.
So she just wanted to make sure that I was reared in a way where I wouldn't get caught up in things that would, maybe
Smart mom. Wise. Yes.
deter me from the greatness that she saw in me. So
Right.
whenever I talk about her, I kind of get emotional because it takes me back to how much she invested in me to the point where I am now. Yeah, so it's like those investments, I feel like I'm the full manifestation of her. Her dreams that were deferred are now being lived through me.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's wonderful. So could you give me one phrase or something that sticks in your mind that she used to say to you? Because we all have them, and I'm going to ask around the room.
So my mom always says, build a bridge and get over it.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Simple.
I'm going to be writing that down.
Straight to the point. Okay.
Yeah, meaning that you can't stay stuck on things. Life happens, things happen to you, whether you agree or don't agree with them, but move on, Danielle.
Exactly.
You got 5 minutes, you have a day. Even if you have to take a day to be upset with it, by tomorrow you need to be on to the next thing because you have important things to do.
Okay, so what is their background? Where are they from?
So my mother is from Philadelphia, and my father is originally from Union, South Carolina. They met in high school in Philadelphia, and so they were high school sweethearts. And my mom is a histologist. She works at the University of Pennsylvania Hospital. She's been a lab tech all my life. And my dad retired from DuPont, and he was a tech there too.
Okay.
So I'm like a unicorn in my family.
Okay, so how was high school for you?
High school was just like now, I think.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
She didn't get bullied and picked on like a lot of us did.
No, it was pretty lit. I can say high school was lit, college was lit, post college is lit. So I've always pursued the things that I'm passionate about, which is community and theater and dance.
So I love it.
So because I invested in dancing since 6 years old, and really when you have something to focus on, that makes a world of a difference, right? It gives you things to look forward to. So I've danced since I was 6. So that is how I built my life. My life was built around me wanting to perform, me wanting to be in theater, and so that then instantly kind of made me a student leader because I was performing in front of my student body on a regular basis.
And if you think about that, what she's saying is that this started from the ground up, from her mother's foundation. And I really believe that your mother set the tone for where you are today. Because had she not instilled that into about that, build that bridge, and then also keep going and don't sit there and have self-pity on yourself and all that, it changes. It's a game changer for a girl. Girls need to hear that because girls go through so much already. You got their hormone issues and so many different things going on, and they're being picked on, and so many things go on. And a lot of times girls don't express things that go on in their mind, even if they're being abused or anything. So it's very important to have strong role models like that. Have a strong mom like that. You're so blessed to have that. Because a lot of people don't get that. I know for my mom, I remember as a child, if I came home and said, "Mom, they were picking on me," she would go, "So what? You're just as good as they are. Get back out there," By her with that tough exterior and saying that to me, when I would walk back out the door and they would pick them, I would say, "Well, I'm just as good as they are." Because it's very important for parents as role models to continually instill positive stuff, images and things, and say things to them. And I remember my father honoring him, because tomorrow's Father's Day, and I'm going to get emotional because he passed not too long ago. But he always used to say, nothing beats a failure but a try.
Yeah.
And it just stuck with me all my life to this day, from a child. It stuck with me. And he used to always say, don't be the last one over the fence. And that stuck with me too. I still.
What does he mean by that one?
Because he used to always feel that everything in life was something, you know, he was born in 1925. Think about what he had to go through. I mean, he went through a lot. And his family went through a lot, because he's like 2 generations from slavery, so to speak, you know, in the South.
Right.
So
So
think
it's
of-
escaping persecution,
Yes.
like don't be like, you know, imagine kids running away from authority and they're all like hopping.
Yes, he said, don't be last, don't be last. You gotta stay in the competition. You gotta,
so
you got to keep going.
Yeah.
You can't.
I like that one.
Yeah, so he used to always say, don't be last. You know, and I just was like, what does Dad mean by that? And then when I got older, he used to always call me boss, supervisor. It was like he was instilling it in my mind.
Oh, I love that.
And I said, well, okay, boss, okay, supervisor. I'd be like, why are you saying that, Dad? But as I got older, I recognized what he was saying. And so I tested the theory on that, because that my minor is psychology. I tested the theory. Every time we go to a restaurant, the waitress or waiter always comes to me. I don't care where we go. I even had dates. Get mad and go, what they coming to you for? Instead of me.
I'm the boss.
I'm the man here. I'm the man. I said, I don't know. So, you know, I think they pick up on a spirit of somebody who feels like they're in control, and the energy and authority. Yeah, so even to this day, I've tested. I'll just sit there like this, and they will still come up to me and go, so what are we having, and what did you like, and or they'll even hand me the bill, and men get real hot with that. So I have to have an alpha. I have to have a true
Most
alpha.
of us successful women do.
Alpha, okay?
And it's alpha like cute. Right. It's not even a regular alpha.
Right.
Alpha to the
Alpha 2.0.
The first one.
Like that dude better have a lot of pull. Like,
Yes.
Like, I'll just figure it out myself.
Okay, beautiful. Over here in the beautiful orange. How are you? Hello. Thank you for coming. And let's give your name and tell us about you.
So my name is Malia Van Ostrand. I am a journalist here in Miami. I moved here last year from Chicago, but I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana.
wow.
Oh, wow.
and-
What a difference.
Oh yeah, huge difference. I'm loving it here.
It's great.
I
Yes.
also am a travel advisor. I've had my own travel agency since 2016. And I'm also a mother of 2. I have a 3-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter.
Oh,
Wow.
that's the perfect
Yeah,
age for
it
fun.
is.
That's the fun age.
Yeah. But so that's pretty much what I do. But to piggyback off what you guys were talking about, I feel like right now I'm in this stage of kind of letting go of expectations I had for myself.
Yes.
I wanted to make a certain amount of money by my early 30s, and I'm in my early 30s now, and I'm not making that. And I wanted to be married, but I'm a single mom. So I've learned you just can't put these expectations on yourself, because then you're gonna look inside and say, well, where am I failing? You're gonna look at yourself as a failure, and you're not.
Right.
And so I've been really focusing on my mindset a lot lately. So I've been learning, like, you can do it. You can
Yes.
put. You can. My mom always told me, like you were talking about what your mom told you.
Yes.
You can do anything that you put your mind to.
Yes.
And you have to really put in the work and stay consistent. That's the most important thing I've been learning.
Yeah.
Consistency is
The
key.
mother of success.
So, and discipline, yes. And I have these 2 babies depending on me. So
Yes.
the consistency has been really paying off for me with my personal business and with my job. So that's something that I'm really proud of and working on. So yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, and this is the thing about small children, which I love children anyway, is that they will inspire you to go on.
Oh yeah.
Even if, I remember when my children were small, even if I wanted to cancel out and say, I'm not doing nothing, they will make you, okay, I gotta get up, I gotta do this. They depended on me, you
I'm
know?
going roller skating after this. It's my niece's birthday, and I'm not
Yeah.
allowed to not be
Not
there.
go there.
Yes.
I have to.
Yes.
I have to show up.
And you gotta show up for your kids, and they need you, and that gives you power.
Yes.
Because they're watching you, because you are their first role model.
Right, exactly.
You know, and yes, it's a beautiful thing, and this is a fun time. Because a lot of times we take that for granted when you have small children. You think, oh my God, when are they gonna get older?
Yeah.
You know,
and then when
like,
they get out, you're like,
oh, I
come
miss
back.
them. And that only happens because we get tired. It
Right.
doesn't mean that we don't love them and we want to have fun, but sometimes we kind of overextend ourselves,
Yeah.
you know, and we
Yeah.
do too much.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we, you know, then we're like, oh my God. And so that's why self-care is so important for women.
Right.
So for you, it's terribly important because I can remember, and I'm sure Evelyn, you can attest to this, where they would go to sleep and my wise mother would always say, please take a nap. And I'm like, I don't have time for a nap. While they're asleep, I'm gonna mop the floor, I'm gonna wash the clothes, I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna put everything in order, blah, blah, blah. And then they wake up and I'd be exhausted.
Right.
And they're ready to go.
And they're ready to go.
Exactly, you know.
Yeah, so make sure you do some self-care on that,
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, that's another thing I've learned. It's okay to take some time for yourself.
Yes.
It's okay to. It's also
necessary.
yes, it's necessary.
It's necessary.
And it's okay to not be okay. Also, that's
Yes.
another thing. So,
Yeah.
when the kids go to bed, I take some time and I meditate every night. I write in my journal for some goals that I want to do. So those are some things that it kind of takes my mind off of that, and I can feel more me. Sometimes you lose yourself as
Yes.
a mom.
Yes.
Because you're just so in mom mode or so
Yes.
in working mode. So
Right.
you have to remember who you are. And so that's something that I'm putting a lot of my priority into.
I want to say something
yeah.
about your generation because I'm like that.
You felt my
old-
energy, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I'm old millennial, young Gen X. I'm that
You felt my energy, I was
Zennial,
gonna say
the Zennial gap, like the last analog, first digital. So like I have like a lot of the early adopter type of behaviors
Yeah.
and technology that the millennials do. But we gave so much shit to we give so much shit to millennials for being like entitled and being like, oh my time.
Yeah.
And now after the pandemic, everybody's like, maybe they were right. And I'm like,
Talk about that.
yeah, maybe they were right. And I am as young or as young Gen Xer, old millennial as I am, I'm really just impressed by your generation of
Yeah.
being able to say, like, have boundaries because, you know, we do
Yep.
glorify
Yeah.
the hustle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
too much.
I'm still, and I have this hyper independence. I think that
Yes.
happens a lot with Gen X kids because we're like the latchkey
Yeah.
kids. We're like the generation of
Yeah.
divorced parents. A lot of us were left home alone to like
I'm a
take care of
latchkey kid.
Yeah, exactly. So we're like, we have this hyper independence issue. That's why
You
when
do.
the pandemic came and people were like freaking out, Gen X people were like, whatever.
I would've got my wine
I've been
and
sitting
beer.
at home by
Have some
myself all
popcorn.
day. Exactly. So I'm very impressed that I wish that I had that foresight
Yes.
at your
Yeah.
age to say, okay, I need to do this for myself. But if I looked at it, you know, from the opposite perspective in terms of, you know, you were saying I had all these expectations for myself. As I was somebody, my mom's like, when are you gonna get me? And my mom's older, she had me at 40, so she's 85 now. So she's like, when are you get married? I just want to make sure that you're taken care of. I just want to make sure that somebody's there for you and that you have somebody to lean on and blah, 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 blah.
That's so
And I get that as a mother.
Yeah.
But I was always like the opposite of you. I was like, I need to just do good for myself and make sure I can take care of myself. And if I find somebody, then those are things I can't control, right? You can't control the order of the universe if you're going to meet somebody or not. But I got to the point where I was like, well, why am I not meeting anybody? You know, and being really hard on myself, like, why can't I find the right person? Why isn't that working out for me? Like, I think I'm good looking, I'm successful, like, you know, like,
you are.
no, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
It's your insecurities, like that little
Yeah.
monster, that voice
But
of
what-
that negativity
and I
coming
hate that
in.
people are like, well, you know, like I mentioned to you guys before the show that when I met my significant other, I was like, well, what's wrong with you? You know, and his response was like, what's wrong with you?
I was gonna say that, what's wrong with you? God has blessed you with somebody that you're
why are
like,
you a unicorn? Why don't you have
Okay.
kids? Why,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's always important to
Y'all cracking me
remember.
up.
But I think the point is like it's always important to remember that for your experience or somebody on the complete opposite side of that, feeling the opposite effect of
Yeah.
the societal pressure, right?
Yes,
so
pressure. It's really pressure.
for her, it was like, I spent my whole life taking care of people. And
Yes,
it is like,
yes.
I'm now learning how to share space with somebody, you know? So there's an opposite side, so I think that that's very comforting in knowing that you're not alone, and that the grass isn't
You will
always
never,
greener.
you're never alone.
Yeah.
But the grass is always not greener.
It is not
Because
greener.
somebody
Yeah,
has
it's not.
a different
Yeah.
situation.
It's
right?
Sit in your grass.
Yeah. And let's talk about that. You know, you brought an interesting point there, because I was going to talk about that. First of all, I am riding the tail off of your generation, honey.
Yes.
I'm loving it. Okay, lockdown came, and people were freaking out, and I was like, good.
Yeah.
I get my popcorn. I put on like 10 to 15 pounds, because I was like, I called the pandemic weight.
I was
like,
not
I was
bothered.
enjoying myself, because I knew that I did not have to do anything except look out the window. Is it all right if I
And
come out?
I was still doing more than everybody else.
And even in the house, let me tell you, but that controlling spirit that I call that A-type personality from my generation,
Yeah.
what I would do is I would get up at 6 o'clock anyway, go out, even though they were saying everybody stay in, and I would actually go, because this is my personality, to Walmart, go to the back where the storage is and go, hey, come out here. I would say, what's the 411? When you going to get some sanitizer? When you getting some Lysol?
Oh my gosh.
And when the eggs coming in.
You
And he
hustling
would
for
say,
it.
I know. And he would say, come here like tomorrow morning at 5 o'clock in the morning. The seniors always get here first and take everything.
Uh-huh.
Oh my
So
God.
I was like, okay. And so even then, I would still jump up like I was going to work and get in the car.
Yeah,
and I would be
routine.
going from a routine, you know,
Yeah.
and be looking for this stuff. So finally, I said, you know what? I said to my mom, because she's 86. I said, Mom, let's go stay in the hotel when they open up the hotels again. And I would say, you know what? I can't find no Lysol in it. Where is the Lysol? He says, I got the 411. The hotels bought all the Lysol. I was like, what? Give me a couple of cans of the Lysol. So what I'm saying is that our generation, and if you're like on the border of that, what happens is you still got that mentality that you got to be
The hustle.
doing something.
Yeah,
Hustle.
exactly.
You got to be doing it. You got to be doing it. Yeah. But then I look at the other generation. I'm like, wow, they know how to really embrace life.
Yeah.
I mean, my niece, I love her to death. She's like 46. She's like, I think I'm gonna call in and say I need a health day. I'm like, what?
A health day?
A health day? What in the world is that? You know? Because back, you know, they were like, health day? What are you talking about? There's no such thing as a health day. But now, this is the first time in history that women get a chance to choose everything. They have control over everything they want and how they want to play this thing out.
Exactly.
You know, before they didn't have those options. So this is a beautiful time to be a woman. You know, because you guys got so many things at your fingertips. And not only that, you can control the narrative. Before you couldn't have no control.
Right.
You could literally walk off your job and say, you know what, boom, I'm gonna start my own company, okay? You know what, I can do this myself. Whereas a long time ago, it was different from my dad. He worked like 40 years, retired, went back to work. Got 2 401ks, you know, and a watch, you know, because that's what he believed. He worked himself to death almost.
Yeah, you know, I don't want us to fall asleep at the wheel, because I think that the way the pandemic was handled was definitely meant to force women to make a choice. And we're living in a moment in time where the oppression against women and colored people, and I mean black and brown, is at an all-time high. And that narrative and that, you know, for not wanting to use the buzzwords, but just male fragility in general, of feeling like loss of control of their own power. They are trying to force women to make the decisions. And so, you know, women had the largest exodus from the workforce when the pandemic came, because
Yes.
they
Yes.
were forced on childcare.
Yes.
So
Yep.
don't sleep on that.
No,
I mean,
you can't.
yes, you have options, but don't sleep on the fact that there are forces that are working to make sure we're not successful, because there are
Yes.
certain people
And we
that
can talk
feel
about
very,
that.
very threatened by the fact that we can now do it all. And, you know, there's a need for wanting to control women and the underserved, or people of color, or, you know, however you want to define minority communities, which we're not really that much of a minority.
We're not.
However you want to define that, this is the time for us as communities, black and brown and Asian and women and gay, to all come together under the same message. This is like basically an oppression of all these communities. It, you know, for whatever reason, whether it be your sexuality or your color or your gender, whatever, we all have a reason to come together and band together under that same umbrella. And that is the only way we are going to be successful, because what they are doing right now, especially within the Hispanic community, is trying to divide and conquer. So, you know, so now you have this woman in South Texas who just flipped a county that had been Democratic forever in the Rio Grande Valley, and she ran on the fact that Hispanics are pro-family, pro-life, and pro-God, and we don't subscribe to. So that's division. That is division of saying you're not LGBT, you're not this. The Democrats are doing like, we cannot be baited into that conversation, because at the end of the day, the policies are oppressive to all. So if it's oppressive to you as a woman, it's going to be oppressive to black women, Latino women. You cannot, and that does not make you not godly, and we cannot fall prey to what is happening and lose sight of that, even though we have more options, because they're quickly trying to take them away.
I appreciate you saying that, and we'll be right back. Okay. And we're back, and I'm going to tell you something. We are unpacking a lot of stuff here. As Nellie would say, it's getting hot in here. Because we're going to talk about politics, and we know how we can be with that. You know, we got to come out swinging. So we're talking about women empowerment, and we're talking about inspiration, we're talking about unifying, and we're talking about what's going on right now in our country. And Sonia, you were talking about some really serious issues, and one of them that's on the table right now is the abortion law and how it affects us. What do you feel about that?
You know, I think that when women have to face that decision for many different reasons, especially when you live in a country where healthcare is a mess and not really affordable. When you continue to talk about the rising cost of, you know, for housing, or the lack of mobility, or, you know, all the other issues of, you know, wage suppression. To me, it is outrageous that we have not had a wage increase since I was in college. Can you believe it?
This is crazy.
Like, sometimes I go to the store and I make good money. So it's not like, when I talk about these things, because a lot of my work is about, you know, social impact and purpose-driven type of work, I'm not voicing these things for myself, because I'm actually okay. I'm voicing because I know that there's a lot of people out there. I get to the cash register and I'm like, how the hell do people afford this? Because this is a lot
How do you
of
spend
money.
$600 and you only got some boxes of cereal and your meat is $20?
Yeah, exactly.
This is ridiculous.
So for me, it feels like, you know, if there's so many reasons why a woman has to make that very difficult decision. But for me, chief of all of them is that, you know, we live in a society that doesn't really have a lot of social safety net. But to force women to take care of children when we have the economic issues that we have, you can't really say that you're pro-life if you're willing to bring children into that environment, knowing that that social safety net doesn't exist. So it feels very hypocritical.
It is
and it feels wrong, and most like anything else in this country, it impacts underserved minority communities the most. Because they're the ones that are lacking the most access to healthcare, education, the most lacking access to family planning services. Those are being cut back. I read a story the other day about a woman in Texas who had to drive, I think, like all the way to North Carolina or something like that, just to be able to have an abortion. Like, to have to go. Imagine, and the way gas is, right? Imagine like having to do that.
It's like 1950s.
Let's
talk about that. How do you feel about that? Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like, it's like Trump's ghost is like around.
Imps.
Yeah, they're like
imps.
Kind of, you know, reversing a lot of the work the advocacy, the progression that
Yeah.
we made as a society, just to take away people's choices. And I don't even know what the point of having the conversation right now is. What was wrong with it? Why are we now digging up a grave of something that we thought that we found a solution for? And now we have to go back and then challenge this, right? And so, you know, like this queen just said, women should have a choice, right?
Yes.
And you know, for whatever reason, you might, you know, biblically believe one way or another way, but at the end of the day, you should give people the choice. And the fact that we have to, like, politically talk about this in the court and make a law around it just seems like it's ridiculous, you know? And I feel very sad and, like, you know, very unfortunate that we are in this place. And, it's like we're redoing time over and over again.
Taking us back.
And that's what I was going to talk about. I don't know if anybody's ever watched Handmaid's Tale. Because if you haven't,
Well, if you live in Florida, you are living
Oh
in
my
the
God.
ground zero of Gilead.
I never forget when my son said to me, "I want you to watch this new show, you know, with Elizabeth Moss." And I was like, "What is it?" Because I had watched Mad Men.
Oh, yeah.
And so she was interviewed about, I'm going to be doing this kind of like a sci-fi. So I said, I'm not watching it. I watched it, and I got so uncomfortable that I actually looked at my son and said, you know what? This is something that's going to happen. This is coming. Because usually when movies are made, it's because there's something that's been planted in the mind, in the spirit world.
Well, that book was written in the 80s.
Yeah.
Margaret Atwood wrote that book in the 80s. And I mean, I think that Democrats fail because they over analyze and over try to explain. Stop trying to have logical conversations with these people about this stuff. This is all at the end of the day about power and money.
Yes.
And about how do we keep women and minorities from gaining, you know, political power or social social relevance, because that it's all about money.
It's about money.
Power and money.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also it's about control. And I'm talking about coming from a Pentecostal background. So for those people out there in the world, Queen D knows what she's talking about, because I come from the church, okay? I used to work in the church 7 days a week, so I know what I'm talking about, all right? But I love God, so I did it because I love the Lord. But I'm going to say this. We are not God. Okay?
Exactly.
No man on this planet has the right to tell somebody what to do with their life or their body.
Yeah.
You don't get the right to do that. Only he gets the right to decide that. And that's what the problem is. A man decided, a man, and an old one at that, who's 1 foot in the grave anyway, okay? This world is not for you old people. This world is for the young people coming up. This is going to be their world, not yours. And you don't get to decide to plant a seed to try to convince them that it's okay to boss people around and tell them what to do.
I think so. You know, I think about women who find themselves in situations that was not pleasant.
Yes.
And it's like, now you end up pregnant, and it's like, what if you got raped?
Yeah.
You know, what if all of
incest.
Infinite amount of situations.
You know, so
contribute to that.
and now you don't have this, you know, this choice. That's the part that hits me the most.
Even in one state, they are lowering the age to 13 that a child can get married, just so she can reproduce.
But again, this goes back to power and to men being able to win.
Handmaid's Tale all over again. It's frightening.
And I mean, I think that the food, we don't hold the pharmaceutical industry accountable. We don't hold the food industry accountable. So instead of like
You're all in there with
punishing
the government.
instead of punishing people for being infertile and saying like, well, we have to increase the fertility rate. Instead of punishing people for that, why don't we say like, okay, what are the things that are contributing in this country to the fertility rate and the health issues that we have and the mental health issues that we have? And we're not seeing these things in other countries. And that, I think, really comes down to our food and our medical industry who have a stranglehold on our Congress. I always say that corporations are the fourth branch of the government.
Yeah.
Also,
Yes.
Yes. Sorry, thank you.
sorry. So another point that people like to say when it comes to abortion is, well, you can just consider adoption. And adoption, for me, is not an alternative to abortion. I'm an adoptee, and so I ended up in the system until I was a year and a half years old. So that's not very long typically compared to other people. But as a black child, nobody wanted to adopt me for a very long time. And that happens to so many children of color. We're the last ones that are adopted. And so when you say, oh, these kids can just go into the system, they're going to be, a lot of them age out of the system. Don't have family. So it impacts more people of color because their birth parents can't take care of them. My birth parents, I've reconnected with them 10 years ago and are really close now, but they did not have the resources to keep me. They had my brother before me. So that's another problem when it comes to not being able to have access to abortions. I think it's so important that women can have that. So.
Well, I think there's two things about that. One, that if when you do that, then they would shame you for saying, how can, as a mother, how could you want to keep your child? It's like, you can never win, right? So like, even if you chose to do that, be like, well, as a mother, like, how could you just like give up your child? And I think that's important to recognize. But also, it's like, you can't force people to have kids under the guise of caring about life, and then once they have them, provide zero resources. And at the end of the day, what did you just say? This impacts minority communities more. This is really about moving the goalpost. And so like, if we look at history, if we look at things like Black Wall Street, and like the resilience that black communities have really had, so Black Wall Street is like, this community in Tulsa, Oklahoma that became like the beacon of light for all black communities in terms of like, they built, like they had 40 hotel owners, and they had this own economy. And it came and they burned it down. Those people 2 years later came back and rebuilt. And over time, we have continued to move the goalposts for minority communities. And so I think at this point, you're just like suffering from a generational trauma of, I feel like you have Stockholm syndrome, it's like now they all come out and they're like, we're going to invest and we're going to do this and DEI, blah, blah, blah. And it just feels like a lot of broken promises. And the Stockholm syndrome that we have with white America, that they come in like, crap on everything and then take it away from you and then say, oh, we're so sorry, here, we're going to do right by you. And then they don't do anything. Like $90 billion of all that money that was invested was in loans or investments. So no action without profit, right? At what point do we as a community say, you know what, and we just do what we need to do for each other and continue with the resilience that our communities have.
It's so hard, I think, to do that because, and not saying that it's not possible, but so many things are ingrained into a system and institutions that we don't own, right? So say we want to go ahead and start to do our own thing, everything still ties back to the U.S. Bank. Exactly. So then how do you fight the U.S. Bank? Right? And then how do you fight these big conglomerate of institutions that we're just... So sometimes it's just like...
They've continuously made it more and more difficult.
Make it very difficult.
They've made it more and more difficult, and I think that communities are tired.
Very tired.
They're exhausted.
Very exhausting.
But we have to be more resilient, right? Like
we'll keep going. Or it's like, oh, we're going to have a voice, right? We're going to build our platforms, but it's still on somebody else's YouTube and Instagram. That goes through somebody else's internet. Not ours.
Right. Absolutely.
We corner ourselves, so.
You're absolutely correct, and I was going to talk about that. We're talking about all these issues that the community faces and that women face, but we're not holding the men accountable. Hello?
Don't get me started.
Hello? We have to hold them accountable too. And the reason why I said that because, I just recently joined TikTok, and I got mentally and emotionally exhausted from it. Everything I scroll was about men complaining about women.
Are you serious?
You're being targeted.
And I was like, what is this? And then everything I scrolled was about women complaining about men, and it all seemed to be people of color.
You're being
so
targeted.
I literally said to them, I said, this is interesting. I said, isn't it sad? I said this a couple of times. Isn't it sad that we still can't seem to work together as a community, as a race? What is the problem with us?
But I want you to look into that because that's actually that's how the algorithm in TikTok is made. So go look at articles about other people, like influencers on TikTok, complaining about how their content is being specifically targeted to certain folks. And so that's really how we wound up with a Trump. And by the way, Trump is not the problem. Trump
he's not.
legitimized something that was there.
Already there. Already there. He's not the problem. It's the people who he's hiding behind.
Exactly.
Uncomfortable.
But that's how technology is being used to reprogram folks. Like I've had people in my life and I'm like, you were never like this. Let me tell you, like,
you're absolutely correct. Excuse me. And I'm being honest with you. You know, this was a shocker to me when this whole thing started back like 4 years ago, like 2 years even. A lot of the people from my church, and I literally was 10 years in with going to seminars and conferences with these women, because I deliberately put my children in a church that was diverse on purpose, because I used to say, heaven is not going to be segregated. There will not be a gospel choir. There's not going to be a gospel choir here and a Catholic, orchestra here.
Individual merit, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. So I used to say, you've got to learn to get together and understand that if you are talking about real heaven, you have to talk about unity and love. It's not going. You're not getting in with your prejudice crap. It's just not going to happen. You know. And this is what I used to say. So I said we all need to work on our hearts and ask God to pluck it out from the root, whatever it is that is still instilled in us from our parents, from generations, from the media, all of that stuff. So I really was hurt when I saw this Republican Party that I didn't know was Republican Party with white women that I have spent my years going to conferences, spending the night in the same hotel room in the bed, traveling to seminars, speaking out together, doing all this praying and in the community and serving and all the stuff that I did. And I started getting these little messages in my inbox saying, something's coming up on the 6th, get ready, get ready, get ready. Now this is before it happened. Right. Like, what are they talking about? And they started revealing who they were and saying little things. And I would go, this can't be the same sister. And I did say sister in Christ that I have slept in the same bed with, that I have went to dinner with, that I have had coffee with in Christmas parties and did community service. This can't be the same person that told me that they're going to the White House, to Trump's dinner for the inauguration. These were all my sisters. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this cannot be.
I want you to be really careful with that though, because Obama was really the first social media president, right? He was the first person to be able to coalesce, on the grassroots level, very young people. And what the Republican Party did was weaponize that, recognize the power of social, because a lot of people will say, we got more racist. Obama made the country more racist. I said, no, the election of a black man showed the country's racism.
Exactly.
It's like, we gave you jobs, we allowed you to be free, being president is a bridge too far.
Right.
Because the Tea Party and all that, the Rush Limbaughs and the people that were kind of brainwashing at the radio level and that talk radio level, what they recognize and have successfully done is weaponized technology to reach those folks. And so you're probably right. Those people were not that way, but they got targeted more likely through their husbands, because the strongest women are actually very much influenced by the male dominance in the house, got targeted through their husbands, and started being heard in the environment. And the next thing you know, you start identifying, they're saying little things, and you start seeing yeah, that happened to me, or yeah, I see that. And you're like, yeah, that totally, I get, And the next thing you know, in their head, they're like, yeah, I'm not a bad person. I've always been supportive of black people. Why am I the villain?
I think they have a public image, but when it comes down to the way that they vote, and certain people that has gotten into office and certain laws has gotten passed, is because that group of people, when it's time to go vote, they vote
through their wallet.
For the minority,
Yeah.
majority, whatever, they vote in that way. But publicly, they wouldn't stand and say the truth, their
Let's
truth.
talk about that. Those are like clans that you don't know about,
You don't know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
at
don't
this
know
level,
that?
at this level, there's
Yeah.
Modern day
it's good for
plan
us
type of thing.
financially
Yeah.
to say we're like that, but
When they go
at the end of the day,
vote,
we ain't down with that.
Trump could not have gotten in if he wasn't voted in. So
They
all those
voted
people
that way.
said, "Oh,
But I want to be careful with that because he did not win the popular vote. He won by electoral college. But even
That's
in
true.
the first
That's true.
election,
Yeah.
he lost by 3 million votes. And in the second election, he lost by even more.
Yeah.
So it was a system
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is designed to favor white landowners. That's how our system was built. And so the electoral college is people say it's a failure. I'm like, no, it's highly successful. It is doing exactly what it was supposed
designed
to
to do.
It was doing exactly.
Yeah.
But Trump didn't win the first time. He was never the guy, and he
No one
definitely
expected
wasn't.
him to
People, I
He knew that,
thank him. I thank him because he propelled a type of civic discourse and engagement that we
He
had
just
not seen in this
exposed
country for
what
a
we
long
needed
time.
to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The hoods came off, you know.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and put it to him.
Right, he was okay when that Charlottesville happened. He said, "Oh yeah, it was a problem on both sides." And they walk around there with guns and everything,
Yeah.
white supremacists and everything. They let everybody, they let all of them know. Okay, it's good to take the hoods off. Now we don't need that no more.
Right.
Okay.
So let's talk about insurrection. Okay, what is taking so long? Anybody got an answer for that? Why is it taking so long for people to recognize who the leader is, and they're just kind of trying to look for all of the, I call them imps or the followers that's with the leader and put them in jail, but letting the leader go back out there and campaign the 2024, okay? Is this world going crazy?
Okay. But I think it's, I don't know whether you're following the hearing or whatever.
I'm following, yeah.
With all of this, they got their documents together. They got the proof and everything. I don't know how Trump gonna get out of this. I don't know how. They are talking about criminal. They like saying attempted murder and all this other stuff. How is he gonna walk away from this?
Politics.
So, well, I think that
You never know.
I think that from a legal and a judicial standpoint, it's pretty much the way that they handle anything else with a major profile case, which is we better be damn sure we're gonna win this.
Yeah.
Because losing it would be a huge.
They can't
so,
lose.
Yes.
So it's like
Yes.
it's like Jeffrey Epstein,
Yes.
right? So when
Yes.
you look at Bernie Madoff, when you look
Yeah.
at Jeffrey Epstein, or you look at Howard Weinstein and or Harry Weinstein and all of those cases, you're like, these people got away with so much for so many years, but when the FBI and congressional hearings get involved, you cannot lose that, because losing that would provide a legitimacy to the other side that would really be, and we are
Against the
that would be over for us.
Yes.
So, and I think we live in an instant gratification society and a cancel culture, which is something I really criticize liberals for. There's the lack of tolerance. You can't be like, we have to be tolerant of everybody, but I'm intolerant of you. You can't. That's not how that works. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yes.
So we live in this culture where we want him in jail now, we want him out now, we want things out, but the amount of discipline and focus that it takes to be part of those investigative teams.
Ooh, that's hard work.
To get, but they're being effective, right? Because now this stuff is coming out. People are like, this is crazy. So we have to be respectful of that process and be thankful
And
that it's being
patient,
moved
yes.
through, and patient.
Yeah.
Because if you really succumb to the pressure from the outside, and I think that's an individual lesson for all of us. If you succumb to the noise and not be focused and really be thoughtful, even in your own personal life, you can really make huge mistakes. And so I'm thankful for the fact that they have taken this long.
Yeah.
And I pray to live for the day when maybe we'll all come back together and toast for when his ass is in jail.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but be thankful for the process.
Yes,
Right.
and let's talk about the Asian, you remember all this hate Asian stuff,
Yeah.
right? And how that was handled versus the George Floyd bill.
You know that? That got
Yeah.
right away,
The thing is, you know, the Black community, we support other communities. And that could be to our detriment at times, because when it's time for us to maybe create allies and needing support or whatever, it's like we got to pull leaf and tails, you know, for someone else to speak up on our regard. But we will always take, you know, and say that's not right, and speak up and stand up for other people's communities. So, you know, the Asian community, with the definition of community, they got it down pat.
They sure do.
They roll with each other.
Yes.
And they're like just blind focused on their community.
Like this.
Exactly.
Like a racehorse. They're like got the blinders on.
But you know, people are so afraid to speak out when it comes to our issues in the Black community, because they don't want to be a part of, you know, being a part of the lynching, what happens with Black people, and, you know, us getting such the end of it, and the worst of everything. So we need to have that same level of focus and say, you know what?
Yes, we do.
Let's just make sure that and that's not really the Christian thing to say or do, but I mean, that's like the American thing to say and do. So I don't know, it pulls at me. It pulls at my morals.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, the core.
Yeah.
You know, because I've noticed on television, we've had an influx of Asian commercials, influx of Asian movies, influx of Asians on Netflix, Hulu. And that is because, again, they have worked together to make sure those deals are made behind the door.
I was just about to say that they don't have to go behind the door.
Yes.
And they got money to talk to.
Well, there's two things I want to say about that.
Yes.
Like, I got pitched I got asked for an interview the other day by an Asian conservative TV network, and I was like, and it was called like the freaking Shanghai something or other, and but they were all like white reporters, and I was like looking them up on LinkedIn. I was like, don't astroturf my ass. Like, it was like, but that concerned me. I was like, there's a concerted effort from the Conservative Party to bring these people in.
Oh, yeah.
And the part of the reason that they are so united is because a lot of Asian people that come to the United States are escaping communist regimes, like from Vietnam, from China.
Yes.
And so they keep their head down because they come from cultures where you keep your head down. Like, you don't make noise, you just kind of like do the thing. Same thing with the Jewish community. They come from very persecuted, like within ourselves, trust nobody. It actually comes from a very they have their own generational trauma.
Yes, they do.
But with Latinos and Blacks, it's been different because and I'm Latina, and I'll tell you, there's nobody more racist than Latinos. Period. You know, like, we are nationalists, we're racist, we're homophobic, we're sexist, misogynist. We're all of that. We're all the ists. And so it's going to be very hard for the Latino community to unite in this country because of all of those factors. And then the Black community in general has been very consistently divided.
Let's talk about that.
Super distracted about it too, not even realizing, like you said, scrolling through TikTok, and people. I just hate when I see it just play out online. I'm like, like, you know, like, sometimes you gotta keep it inside. Keep it at home. You ain't gonna air the news.
And that's why I said that the men have to be responsible. African American men have to be responsible. Latino men, people of color men have to be responsible. What I see online is not being responsible. It's like they're making fun. And we all know, and I always say, Google this, Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch was famous for being brought to America to deliberately divide the Africans by color. And he knew that if he cursed us that way, that not only would the outhouse, as the ones in the field and the ones in the house would be fighting to this very day about something as stupid as complexion. Nothing else but complexion. And it was also used in New Orleans also with the Hispanics and Brazilians, as you say, to interbreed, to lighten, and to do all these things, because in their mind, white was right. And to this day...
Well, whitewashing of sorts.
Whitewashing, correct, And so to this day, African American men and men of brown men have to really recognize this for what it is. It's against us, men, women, color to fight against each other, and we just won't stop. It's just ridiculous.
Right. And then it plays out on like reality TV.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
these people are ridiculous
Yes.
on these shows.
Yes.
I can't stand it.
I can't take it. It's just, it's awful. So let's talk about that. Kevin Samuel.
Oh, God.
And we come to a close with the relationship part.
Is that guy?
Yeah.
Just passed away?
Kevin Samuels.
That's
Let's
that
talk
guy.
about Kevin Samuels.
Is that who that is? Who just passed
Yeah.
away?
Now he constantly said that women were gonna die alone with a cat or a dog if they didn't get married after 85 because they were 35 because they were an old package. Okay?
Oh my
And he died
God.
saying what he said about he died alone.
Did he die with a hooker on top of him?
Yes.
or something?
Yeah.
A hooker?
Everything he said came back to curse him.
A guy-
A white hooker?
Yes.
On top of
Yeah.
Yes.
A guy who couldn't get pussy
So,
to be paid for.
yeah, I wanna
That's
talk
not who I
about that.
take relationship advice from.
Oh.
But he's got some imps around.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of men complaining and barking, still trying to carry on this whole thing, and I'm still trying to figure out why. He's gone. He's in the ground. It's time to pull up your big boy pants and figure out what you want for yourself and stop trying to live behind somebody else who was not even correct
Right.
and what he was talking about himself.
Yeah, you talked that
You know,
woman.
oh yeah, he did a lot of damage. And to this day, everybody's arguing with each other and it's exhausting. And it goes back to what you were saying about relationships. Young people today, I feel for you. I feel for the young people today.
His men are.
Because it's really hard to find someone who has not been, with this whole ideology in their head, about women. And the women are arguing, the men are arguing, and no one is coming together. All this is just mess. So I feel bad because it's hard to date right now. It really is. And social media and lockdown did not help.
I always say that it's like, it used to be like, do you got a job? And then it's like, what's your credit score? And now it's like, do you have a therapist? That's like the new litmus test.
Can we smash if you don't have COVID? Do you have your card?
Because and some girl on TikTok said it very well, like, I do not have time to raise, or I do not have time to rehabilitate poorly raised men.
Build a boy.
Build a boy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And maybe how some people would call very small dick energy. So like I just I've got zero time. As women we just gotta fuck that up. We can't be.
Yeah, nowadays it's really difficult to, and I'm saying to all the women out there, stop looking at one race. Right now, you gotta keep your options open. If you're not getting something from the one who's complaining, if you're looking at people and they're complaining and putting down your race, and then you're one of those people who go, well, he ain't talking about me because I'm cute. You're fooling yourself. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. If Halle Berry and Beyonce, if they get people that have had affairs on them, what makes you think you better?
Men need therapy.
Yes.
But Jay-Z said that. Jay-Z was like,
Yeah.
I clearly had to go and deal with a lot of my
Yeah. Right.
And that's the example you should be taking.
Right?
Yeah.
She don't Beyonce.
Yeah, being beautiful and I think that actually the more successful you are, the more likely you are to get a man that needs a lot of rehabilitation.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And I think that celebrity couples, especially celebrity men, they're like in a league of their own. Like they have their own rules. Like I almost feel like they are allowed to step out, to
Yes.
have multiple women, because I just think that just comes with the celebrity factor of you traveling the world, meeting all
Yeah.
these people, and it's just kind of like we
Yeah.
have our
Yeah.
understanding, but I can do my thing,
Which
so
is
I
an
don't do this
excuse.
thing. I really think celebrities just have their own code.
But I just think it's difficult. Like, I still haven't posted about my significant other on, like, a lot of people don't know that I'm in a relationship, but I think there's just something about keeping those things
Keeping it
private.
private.
Yeah.
Yes. Talk about
That's
the sweat
important.
right
I can't even
now.
imagine like constantly having a camera. I always said if I was famous, I'd be like Sade famous. Like I'd
Yes.
have an album every 10 years. There'd be like, hell
Mary J.
yeah,
Blige,
come to my
yes.
concert, and then I would disappear into Nigeria and like freaking safari and you want to see me for another 10 years. And then I would have another album and be like, yay!
Yeah.
And then I'd disappear again. Like, that's the kind of celebrity that I could think I could handle. I would never be able to handle, like,
An everyday celebrity.
Right.
know.
So what do you think about the slap? Will Smith, I mean, he's gonna be known for the slap and the Oscar that he got. And starting with you, Evelyn.
Now he gonna be known for much more, y'all. I gotta hold it
He's
down.
been banned from Oscar for 10 years.
I know. We gonna have to make another different thing.
Jada instigated that, okay?
Mm,
He was up there laughing at the joke. All of a sudden, you see a camera looking at him like, you want to do that? Okay. That's when he got up and did that slap.
That was.
You know, that was so crazy.
So,
I saw a video that they put on social media where it looked like he reenacted a movie from back in the day. Did y'all see that?
I know I didn't see it.
I'm saying it was like the
I
scene
didn't
was
see it.
reenacted.
Yeah.
This from another movie.
oh, yeah! Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. I was like, not on TV.
Please,
Yeah.
no.
I think it's unfortunate.
Maybe approach him as a man later behind the, VIP or, in the dressing room or something and just have a conversation about it. But I think apparently this is something that was going on.
Yeah.
That this is something that was an add-on to a situation that was continuous. So,
But he took
but on
away from so many
TV,
people.
where he was being awarded and, he's so
Yeah.
celebrated and
Yeah.
he's reached such a high peak in his career, for him to do that on TV was just, and then Chris, the other thing, I put out actually a video
Okay.
about this. I just took the PR angle from it.
Okay.
And I said, there's so much crisis communications that's happening from all three parties now, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody now has to control this crisis that happened on TV.
Yeah.
So once we saw it, it wasn't the end of it. Now
Yeah.
they have to go back and continue to clean this up. So
Yeah.
I said, listen, everybody make sure y'all have y'all crisis communications plan in order. Something might go down and you need to know how to respond.
Exactly.
So I just think it was unfortunate.
About women. And the women are arguing, the men are arguing, and no one is coming together. All this is just mess. So I feel bad because it's hard to date right now. It really is. And social media and lockdown did not help.
I always say that it's like, it used to be like, do you got a job? And then it's like, what's your credit
Credit
score?
score.
And now it's like, do you have a therapist? That's like the new litmus test.
Can we smash if you don't have COVID? Do you have your card?
Because-
Right, exactly.
Because, and some girl on TikTok said it very well, like, I do not have time to raise, or I do not have time to rehabilitate poorly raised men.
Build a
And-
boy.
Build a boy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
And maybe how some people become very small dick energy. So like I just I've got zero time. As women we just gotta fuck that up. Like, we can't be-
Yeah, nowadays it's really difficult to, and I'm saying to all the women out there, stop looking at one race. Right now, you gotta keep your options open.
And in general.
You're not getting something from the one who's complaining. If you're looking at people and they're complaining and putting down your race and then you're one of those people go, well, he ain't talking about me because I'm cute. You're fooling yourself. It's a red flag. It's a red flag. If Halle Berry and Beyonce, if they get people that have had affairs on them, what makes you think you better?
Men need therapy.
Yes.
But Jay-Z said that. Jay-Z was like,
Yeah.
I clearly had to go and deal with a lot of my
Yeah. Right.
And that's the example you should be taking. Yeah, being beautiful and success. I think that actually the more successful you are, the more likely you are to get a man that needs a lot of rehabilitation.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And I think that celebrity couples, especially celebrity men, they're like in a league of their own. Like they have their own rules. Like I almost feel like they are allowed to step out, to have multiple women, because I just think that just comes with the celebrity factor of you traveling the world, meeting all
Yeah.
these people, and it's just kind of like we have our
Yeah.
understanding, but you know, I can do my thing
Which
as long
is
as
an
I don't do this
excuse.
thing. I
Yes.
really think celebrities just have their own
Their
code.
But I just think it's difficult, like, I still haven't posted about my significant other on, like, a lot of people don't know that I'm in a relationship, but I think there's just something about keeping those things
Keeping it
private.
private.
Yeah.
Yes. Talk about
That's
the slap
important.
right
I
now.
can't even imagine like constantly having a camera. I always said if I was famous, I'd be like Sade famous. Like I'd
Yes.
have an album every 10 years. There'd be like, hell
Mary J.
yeah,
Blige.
to come to my
Yeah.
concert, and then I would disappear into Nigeria and like freaking safari, and you want to see me for another 10 years, and then I would have another album. I'd be like, yay!
Yeah.
And then I'd disappear again. Like that's the kind of celebrity that I could think I could handle. I would never be able to handle like.
Everyday celebrity.
Right.
know.
So what do you think about the slap? Will Smith, I mean, he's gonna be known for the slap and the Oscar that he got. And starting with you, Evelyn.
Now he gonna be known for much more, y'all. I gotta hold it
He's
down.
been banned from Oscar for 10 years.
I know. We're gonna have to make another one.
Jada instigated that, okay? He was up there laughing at the joke. All of a sudden, you see a camera looking at him like, you want to do that? Okay. That's when he got up and did that slap.
That was.
You know, that was so crazy.
So,
I saw a video that they put on social media where it looked like he reenacted a movie from back in the day. Did y'all see that?
I know I didn't see it.
I'm saying it was like the
I
scene was
see it.
reenacted.
Right.
This from another movie.
Oh yeah, yes, I did. Yeah.
I don't know. I was like, not on TV.
Please,
Yeah.
no.
I think it's unfortunate.
Maybe approach him as a man later behind the, VIP or, in the dressing room or something and just have a conversation about it. But I think apparently this is something that was going on.
Yeah.
That this is something that was an add-on to a situation that was continuous. So,
But
but on
away from so many
TV,
people.
where he was being awarded and, he's so
Yeah.
celebrated and
Yeah.
he's reached such a high peak in his career, for him to do that on TV was just, and then Chris, the other thing, I put out actually a video
Okay.
about this. I just took the PR angle from it.
Okay.
And I said, there's so much crisis communications that's happening from all three parties now, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody now has to control this crisis that happened on TV.
Yeah.
So once we solved it, it wasn't the end of it. Now
Yeah.
they have to go back and continue to clean this up. So
Yeah.
I said, listen, everybody make sure y'all have your crisis communications plan in order. Something might go down and you need to know how to respond.
Exactly.
So I just think it was an unfortunate set of
yeah.
But I think it was
And everybody
unfortunate for
had
the whole
to-
community.
I think
That
Yeah.
was the first time the Oscars
Yeah.
had a black production crew, and there was like, I've
That's
never
what
seen
I
a
said.
memorial like that.
Yeah.
Memorials
Exactly.
are usually so boring, right? They're like,
Yeah.
you actually had a choir, like there was
Yeah. It was
You
like,
took away from
oh
the
my
It's
place.
so
God.
alive with love, yeah.
He took away from himself, but also
So
just
many.
from so much greatness that was happening, and it's like nobody talks about that because they just
Right.
talk about that moment. I just thought it was just
And 10 years is like a
A
long,
long time. And what do you feel?
I also don't like the fact that it kind of reinforces stereotypes that some
Yeah.
these
some
yeah,
white
yeah,
people have.
Yeah.
So
you can't control yourself. You can't control
keep black
yourself.
people anywhere. So I think that reinforces, and it's unfortunate that that's there, but we still do kind of have to
Yeah.
act a certain way
Yes.
when there's a
unfortunately.
global audience who
Yeah.
already has a really bad perception of people of color. So I think that was
Exactly.
just the
You're
wrong
absolutely
time,
right.
wrong place for
I've
that.
never read at the BET
Yeah.
Award, but the
Yeah.
Oscars, come on.
Yeah. You know,
Just
yeah.
different. Y'all got each
Yeah.
other's numbers.
Yes.
Like just
That's
hash it out once
After
and
that after
for all.
party or something.
yeah, right?
But there was
Order him even at the bar. Like
There's also something to be said about black men's mental health, because he's actually been very vocal about the fact that he felt
Yeah,
like a coward as a
exactly.
kid for not defending his mother, for being beaten, and I think that he's just gotten so much pressure from the outside about his relationship with Jada. I think
Yeah.
he also had a breaking point, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things he
I
had.
think so too.
Yeah.
So there's
exactly.
this topic about black men and mental health that is not
Yeah.
being addressed there.
Yeah, it's kind of like art imitating life, because a lot of people are concerned that maybe from that movie he did that he actually picked up on the spirit of the Williams father, his personality. So he actually said when he came up there. But I started thinking about that, and I said to myself, you know, I'm a strategic person, so I would say like, you ain't gonna do this, look, we're gonna talk about this after the show,
Right.
but,
The
we
moment
had
you
worked-
woke up the stage, I'll be right there.
we had worked too hard
That you had your
to
moment
get
and that
this
was mine.
Oscar,
Right.
and we are not gonna mess this up.
And that's the thing. We don't need to be working hard to get to these places where these
Yeah.
other people are creating. We need to be creating our own
Yes,
stuff, right?
I keep
So,
saying, why can't we have our own Oscars?
So I thought about
our
it.
award shows and
I'm always
stuff.
looking at stuff like from the glass half full. I'm like, this is an opportunity for us to create our own moments because
Right.
Will Smith
Right.
is not going to stop being an
Yes,
actor.
yes.
He's not going to stop doing his thing.
Yes.
Right? He just had a book that came out. Like he is a wonderful individual. Like he
Yes.
is a great person. Like I still like Will
Yes.
Smith. I support
I
Will
do
Smith.
too. I
I
do
forgive
too.
him for what he did. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But you know, of course, it
Yeah.
could have been handled differently
Could've been
without
handled differently.
violence.
Yes.
But it's also an opportunity for us to create our own. Like, who cares if he
Yeah.
got banned from the Oscars for 10 years? Okay, on to the next.
Create your own Oscar.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
okay,
talking about. Yeah.
But by
And
the
he's
way,
got the money
Chris
to
Rock
do
is
it.
like a punch. I wouldn't have seen that. He was like,
Wow. I
He's
was
a
like,
word.
okay. I
And
gotta give you credit, Chris.
I think
And
he
Chris,
just-
I admire Chris. He didn't sue them.
But we
He
didn't
didn't like
handle
pressure
someone
anything.
slapping us in the face and just go, and we'll be right back.
oh
Yeah, no. See, I might not be mentally right to be on that stage.
I might forget who I am right then and there.
I would
Like,
have
I forget
forgotten.
there's an audience.
Right?
I don't know if I can handle it. That's
I might have
something
walked off stage
We're not
though.
I think he was just
We don't
shocked.
know.
I think
We
he
don't
was
know what
just
we
shocked.
do.
was
We're not
shocked, but he's
people.
making out. His concerts are selling out big
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
The glass can always be full, no
Yes.
matter what.
He's like, thanks for selling my tickets. Everybody wants to go to my show.
Yes.
But actually, ironically, it reminded me of that moment of like the first HBO Chris Rock special where he's like, black people can't have things. New movie theater, grand opening, grand closing. And
Great.
I was like, oh, cringe. Like, that's just exactly what it reminded me of. Like, this is the first time we have a black production crew, all these black people
That's
being
what I
nominated.
felt.
Grand opening,
really
grand
bad
closing.
for everybody who worked so hard, and for this to happen, it's like throwing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
And that,
yeah.
and we always have to be mindful that you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And not even just, thinking about just them
Yeah.
two. Think about the example that
Yeah.
set for
You're
young
not the
people.
only one for the rest of
You
the
just go knock somebody out if you don't like what they say.
Yeah, so many, young people get access to this, they see it, and it's like, what are the examples that we're leaving for the next generation? And I
Yeah.
always think about that because social media, the media, everything is just, all things are accepted nowadays, and, now we have young people who just, wow,
And on that
make it
note,
hard for the mothers.
we're gonna close because we could go on and on.
Yeah.
And we really unpacked a lot of stuff, and it's so much fun. So, I'm gonna start with you because you said some really great things. What gems would you give to young people going forward that they can hone in and say, yeah, I'm gonna remember what she said.
So, one of the things that I want to leave with young people, and again, my name is Danielle Jeter, is that you really have to know your core values, and what you stand for, and allow that to be your focus. There's so many distractions today, from technology to people to media to things like that, but when you understand who you are, your core values, and where you're going, allow yourself to have those moments where you hone in and you're still and you're quiet. Because at the end of the day, most of this stuff doesn't really matter, but your happiness and your sanity really does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. I would say that it's okay to not have it all figured out right away. Just stick to your passions, stick to your, think about what skills you have, and try to expand upon that, and be okay with stepping outside of your comfort zone so that you can find your purpose.
And where could they find you?
You can find me on social media at Malia VO. My name is Malia Van Ostrand.
Thank you. Next.
So I think just say something different. I think be very conscious of your finances. And so I wore a shirt today that said, financial freedom for all, because I really feel that is really the only way for our communities to liberate themselves from some of the systemic issues that we have. So, debunking the idea that financial advisors are only for people who have wealth or disposable income, understanding the importance of, your credit score and debt and how that impacts you later on in life, and, trying to either, pivot yourself into a better financial well-being, but definitely like teaching your children about responsible financial or fiscal responsibility so that you can set them up for generational wealth and ownership, because we're just always going to be a slave to the system if we don't own anything. And so for me, that is the key to changing the trajectory for future generations.
Next, Evelyn.
What I would say is don't let your age define you, okay? Always reinvent yourself, take chances, step outside your comfort zone, and be happy with it, because you have to be happy within yourself, and definite self-love, in order to get through all of that, So that's what I would say.
And where can I find you, Evelyn?
TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, okay?
And let's go back to you because I want to make sure they got all your information then.
For sure. So I am on all social media platforms at DP Jeter. Jeter, just like Derek, Jeter. You can go to my website at daniellepjeter.com.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And I'm Queen D, and this is Queen Court Conversations. We've unpacked a lot of stuff, but it's been very inspirational, informational, and I just really had a good time because when I look at these women, I don't see them as just anybody. These are my friends, and I hope you all come back again. And I also want to say something. Lorraine and Moi is my brand. And what that means is the queen in me. And that was given by God, because I don't speak French. Okay? But I also want to say that, yes, I will get back to that. Yeah. Because I got someone in the back and, saying something to me. But anyway, what I want to say is that self-care is so important in this generation, in this world that we live in right now. Self-love is so important because if you can love yourself, you have the ability to love others and to do anything. It's about believing in yourself, being the best version of who you are. And I hope that you tune into this on my YouTube channel, which is Queen Court's Conversation. I want you to like and subscribe, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much again, you beautiful women. And guess what? You just planted a legacy because this is going to go on forever. All right?
yes,
So
definitely.
once this is on the internet, even your children and your friends will see it, even when you're in the ground. It's not over till you're in the ground.
Exactly.
That's right. Yes. Sonia.
How they can follow us? You didn't ask Sonia.
Oh yes, Sonia. How can I follow you? I apologize. Sonia, you gave all this great wealth of information. I need to follow you.
At Sonia V. Diaz across the board. So Facebook,
Thank you.
Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Thank you, everybody. And everyone have a blessed day. Enjoy your life. And guess what? Clay has flowers for everyone because guess what? We deserve our flowers now. So a toast to being a woman, being a queen. Enjoy your life. Cheers.